Hey, how's it going? It's been a minute. Welcome back to the Jacob Wayne Show. This is just, how do I go about telling you about this? So, I've been playing around with the structure of how I could consistently keep doing this podcast, and I realized, I might have mentioned this in past episodes, but I'll reiterate if I have. I don't think I should talk about politics other than in snide little remarks here and there. And maybe if there's something I feel real passionate about, I can elaborate. But at the end of the day, I think podcasts and media in general is filled to the brim with a bunch of nonsense politics and division and all that stuff, and I just don't want to be a contributor to that. There's plenty of places to get yourself informed way better than my podcast. So yeah, as you know, I am not a both sides are just as bad. I think one side in particular is real shitty and dangerous, and the other one can be annoying, but can be annoying. It's not the same thing. So I'm sure my opinion will leak out every now and again, but that is not what this podcast is about. I've also had people talk to me about, hey, do you want to cover board games or more video game stuff? And honestly, I'm not that into it. I don't have enough to say about it. I can't elaborate on it. I actually know a little more about sports, but that's like another area where I don't know enough about it to really fill up a whole podcast with sports talk. And I mean, once again, that's another area where there's plenty of coverage about that. Now, to that end, there's music podcasts and movie podcasts, but I've listened to a lot of them and I feel like they don't quite cover it the way that I do. So those are going to be the main focus going forward. I'm sure there will be weeks where it is just me covering whatever's coming out that's new and reviewing old stuff. But how we're going to do this is a little bit of, hey, how you doing, pitter patter up top. What you sipping on? I'm just sipping on some cheap Seattle's Best coffee, hazelnut. And then now would be the time that if we can keep this up on a weekly basis, which I'm hoping to get back to, I might talk a little bit about something that happened in the news. Rest in peace to somebody who maybe passed away. Quick shout out to new releases from friends or things that you might not have heard about. I don't have any of that today. Doesn't really matter too much. This is a lot more about getting your feet back into those toasty, salty Jacob Wayne waters. That didn't come out right, but whatever. I might also give you like tiny little sports thoughts. I'll give you that. Playing games. The last of the playing games for the NBA playoffs are happening tonight, the day I record this, which is April 14th. The Utah Jazz are out of the playoffs. My go-to favorite team still doesn't exist again yet, the Seattle Supersonics. So, I'm in Colorado. Let's go Denver. And if Denver doesn't make it, I'd like to see Sacramento go deep because they haven't done well for so long. But at the end of the day, we need more championships outside of California, so sorta okay if Phoenix wins it. But I also like Giannis. from the East and for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I wouldn't mind them getting another chip, especially because he's such a positive fella. I really like his attitude compared to some other NBA players these days. So yeah, go Nuggets, go Bucks, and then after that, anybody but the Lakers, California. I don't know. I could kind of get into a Lakers Boston finals, but that's a long shot. But that's always a fun little rivalry throughout history. As far as the NHL goes, the Seattle Kraken are going to their very first playoff. Last year they didn't make it, and last year was their first year as a NHL team. So I'm a Seattle sports guy. Let's go Kraken. I still can't totally wrap my head around the game of hockey. I need to try harder to do that. So we'll just leave it there. Go Kraken. Go Nuggets. And no new stuff off the top of my head. I didn't do any research. This is just doing the intro. So how the rest of these episodes are going to work is we'll then hop into the music section, which I need to do like some new fun little burns, but like way quicker than the old ones. And I'll think about that. Thinking out loud during a podcast is always great. I know you guys love it. Yeah, so anyway, after the upfront pitter patter, we're going to go into the music section, talking music, with our good boy Kellen. And I don't know why I call him our good boy. He's the bestest boy. Yeah, we're going to talk music. It's new releases, old reviews, random little music talk. And then after music talk, or talking music, we'll get into Chattin Movies with our boy Dan. And this is going to be a fun one this week. We go over some new releases with Kellen, and then in Chattin Movies, we're going to be going over our ranked list of Stephen King movies or miniseries, starting with we've been going in chronological order. And we went from the very first one, which I believe is Carrie, and we went up all the way until the end of the 80s, and then we ranked that. And we're currently just started watching the 90s Stephen King movies, but today we're going to be discussing our ranking of first release up until the end of the 80s. So, packed episode, might as well get to it. And what it is, homie. Kellen Gibbons in the house.
We're back.
Yes, indeed.
It's been a minute.
Oh, yeah. I've been taking a nice long break while I'm unemployed and try to catch up on painting and music stuff and podcasting. Just, yeah. Doesn't bring in any money, so it's like you're going to the side for a while, baby.
Yep. That makes sense. Someday.
Yeah, we'll see.
Someday it'll bring home the bread.
Yeah, maybe it'll make me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I can just open up my own restaurant and direct movies and do whatever I want.
Yep.
Just gotta keep working, I guess.
Yep.
Let's see here. What have you been up to over the last little bit?
Well, we're home from a trip down to Arizona to play a show. So, that's pretty fun.
What was that again?
It was for the Grand Canyon River Guides. So, all the people that pilot one rafting company's rafts down the river.
Nice.
All were getting together for some discussions, and we played some music. They drank a bunch of beer. It was fun.
There you go. That was with Entwood, right?
Yeah.
Word.
As
Go
a
follow
bluegrass
that if you
band.
haven't followed them. It's one of Kellen's projects.
Back from the dead.
Oh, it was dead?
Yeah, that was our first show since COVID. Yep.
Oh.
COVID kind of killed that band.
What's COVID?
I don't know. I think it's a kind of bird.
Yeah. It's definitely like COVID cloacas.
Yeah. We got killed by the ravens of vaginas. I don't know.
Raven vaginas. It's good to be back, everybody.
Uh,
Um, yeah, I'm like looking at my camera now, like because I kind of rearranged the setup at my desk, and I wanted to mess with the contrast and
yeah.
coloration, and so now I'm like looking a little too longingly into my own beard. I'm just like, gotta stay on point though. Now, what'd you do with your Easter?
Oh, went not too much. Just went bird watching and could have been hanging out. That's fun.
Do anything special for food on Easter?
I always do ham and funeral potatoes. That's the tradition.
Sounds
Even
pretty
though it's
damn
like kind of
good.
the opposite of a funeral, but still,
Yeah,
Jesus don't care.
that's true. What is that coming back from the dead? Is that like a bris? Or
I think he's the only one, so he gets his own holiday.
he's the Jordan of resurrections?
Yep.
Not LeBron, Jordan.
No. So we probably should have done a yeasty bread instead of funeral potatoes.
You-
Something that rises.
Old yeasty Jesus.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I we don't do anything for Easter, me or the roommate Shaki. So I just decided to put a roast into the slow cooker and give it all like the like taco seasonings and flavoring,
Ooh.
and just like a little bit of lemon juice. It's just slow cooking in that. And had tacos today, and then I'm using the leftover roast and that juice. Threw in some pinto beans and some of that crumbly queso, and then
Nice.
gonna use that for burritos tomorrow. Cause there's this place near us. It's like t- tortillas for la familia. I feel like I always fuck up their name, but
Oh,
amazing
nice.
breakfast burritos. And I think the key is you cook the egg like kind of halfway between frying it and scrambling it, and you do it
Yeah.
separate. So you like warm up all like the like slurry of beans and beef and cheese to the side, and then put the egg on, then wrap it. Then you got a good old breakfast burrito.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, that was my Easter. I that didn't have a lot to do with Jesus, but yeah.
Well, close enough.
Eh. I thought about going out to try to see if there was any Easter candy deals today, but maybe that's when it's the most expensive. I really don't know.
Yeah, probably tomorrow's your best bet.
Yeah. But then I was thinking, is like, what Easter candy do I actually want? I was talking about this with Dan last night, and I don't know. We were like, do you even have a top 10 Easter candy? Anything like that?
Man, I like
I don't know. I don't think I could do a full list.
no, not 10. I like the Cadbury cream eggs and the Robin's eggs. And those are like it. Those are the ones that come around that I really care about. Never
Yeah,
been a peep man.
I'll fuck with the peep, like just one peep. But if
I
it's
remember my
peeps, it's kind of like the same with people, really. Like
yeah,
an individual is fantastic, but people are fucking awful.
you get a whole pack of them. Yeah.
Yeah, oh god.
Dude, I my first girlfriend, her mom would buy peeps every year and stick them in the back of the pantry and take out the one she put there last year.
Oh
So she
yeah,
had like a year old peeps. That was her thing.
yeah.
Like that's disgusting.
I'm kind of
But
down with that. I ain't gonna lie. I don't
I,
think I
I
could
get it.
do a whole year, but yeah, like the stale peep.
Yeah.
There's something to it.
Now
Um,
somebody was saying you light them on fire and it kind of cream brulees that sugar. I'm like, okay, that sounds better. I could
yeah,
get into that.
it's like a s'more, but a lot more like a Holocaust.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. I'm good to be back, everybody.
I've been
Um,
watching Drawn Together, so I'm totally that's not even that fucked up.
oh man, do you think that would just make children cry these days?
Oh yeah, I don't think people can handle it. Actually, I
Yeah,
think they hopefully they need to be able to handle it because that's some glorious satire right there.
that's what I think. I have thought about collecting all the physical media of like old Comedy Central shows because I just feel like that's gonna get disappeared. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you should have that collection just to like go back and reflect because yeah, you go back and watch some of it and you're like, whoa, that was just kind of hard on the racial, like no joke, really going on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm definitely for things getting more inclusive and thoughtful about what their subject is and how they're joking about it. But yeah, I think there's some stuff that it's like, come on, it's just fucking cartoons. It's fine.
Yep. Exactly.
And I mean, of course, we ain't going down that road, but it is funny how people that complain about stuff getting all woke are like crying over rainbow beer cans now.
Exactly.
Whiny little bitches.
Yep.
But I have decided that in order to make a good, succinct show that can survive up to about 45 minutes to an hour, I was like, I think I'm going to do a little bit of pitter patter on my own up top, whatever that is each week. Have you on for music when you could make it, and have Dan on for movies when he could make it, and split it right up. I've devised that there's this one podcast I've really been getting into lately, the Bill Simmons podcast, and it's a lot about sports and stuff. But that's sort of a way he breaks it up, even if his subject is basketball the whole day through. Usually he is just engaging with one person rather than having a whole bunch in the studio and or just doing it solo. And I think it's a good
Gotcha.
balance. And it's just like, yep, I can just zone in on one particular subject with you guys. Of course, there could be like big crossover events like the Avengers. We have you and Dan on, and maybe even Neil. We discuss the top 10 Easter candies of all time. Or
There you go.
something more interesting than that.
Yep.
But yeah, for now, so we're gonna play it a little loosey goosey this time around, and I think the show in general should probably stay fairly loosey goosey. But
Yeah.
I've asked you to start paying attention to new releases, and I know that's asking a lot because there's a lot of bullshit,
So much bullshit. The site impressed me with the amount of bullshit on it.
and that's every week. There's that many
Yeah.
bands and artists just putting stuff out, and yeah, I think you can honestly look at it and be like 60% of this, maybe even 70 is fine. Like whatever. They made it, it exists. It's not good, it's not bad, it just kind of is. Then I
Yep.
think the next percentage is stuff that like what the fuck? Like god damn it. It's like either what the fuck cuz it sucks. It's what the fuck cuz it's boring. Or three, it's like ripping off like a genre or a fad.
Yep.
And we're going to get into that a little bit in a moment. But so I think structurally, you got any music news on your end, a little more personable, like your own personal releases coming out, big
Mm,
shows, any music homies putting stuff out?
Nothing's popping into my mind. The Highline Drifters are still, we're slowly pulling away at our album. We're working on the final mixes now. So that's still in the works, still coming. That's about all I have or know of.
All right. Um, yeah, I think I have the luxury of having a perhaps a busier scene than Logan here in Fort Collins. Got some homies
Yeah.
doing some stuff down here. I don't think anybody's had any new releases lately. Um, Let me think if I could do one shout out though. Try to do this each time. Got to be helpful to the scene, right?
Hell yeah.
Animal Future. Let me double check
Bam.
and make sure that that's a. I'm getting their name right because that is new to me. Shockey discovered them when he went to a show, and yeah, they kind of. It's interesting. They have like Sonic Youth sort of vibe mixed with like I don't know, like Sonic Youth was the big one. There's a little bit of PJ Harvey, a lot of like alternative 90s like female led rock alternative stuff. And yeah, they got a good vibe. And I thought I had more to say about them, but that's really it.
Nice.
So they're a local band in Fort Collins. Go check them out. They're a new find of ours, and they do a good job. They might end
Hell
up
yeah.
playing this. What do they call that? Oh, see, we can tell this is the first time doing this in a while. Uh, Feast of Fort Collins, or like it's kind of probably sad that I can't think of what it is because we like applied to be in it.
Ah,
But
festival thing.
yeah, it was like vote
Nice.
for people to be in. Uh, Taste of Fort Collins. I kept wanting to say Feast of Fort Collins.
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of people voting for that, and there will be people that open for the band All American Rejects, and then people on Sunday opening for Lil Jon. So it's like,
Huh.
okay. It's kind of one of those.
So what's winning?
uh,
Sorry.
I have no, I don't know.
Uh, uh.
See, this is why like we keep you in Utah.
I'm sorry, all American rejects. I didn't mean to swing from the corners of your heart.
That's right. So yeah, we might open for them, but I have a feeling we didn't get enough votes. We'll see. We're still pretty young
Well,
in the game. People don't know us.
yeah, that's all popularity more than who has the most likes and friends that'll go click on something for you.
That is true.
So, yeah.
So just know that all of you that listen to the show or follow me on Facebook, if we don't get in, I'm blaming you.
Damn it, podcast listeners.
All right, let's
Get
get
out there
back
and vote.
to big releases. Oh, the vote's already over. I should have mentioned that.
Oh,
It's on the
shit.
31st.
God damn it, podcast listeners.
Yeah, you all. We'll see what you all if they announce
if
it
you
soon.
if you shit the bed.
But there will be an interesting development on that if we do manage to get in. But we'll go over that in the future.
Nice.
So new album releases. Anything to bring up?
Um, I looked through a few on this website and I picked five that seemed interesting to me.
Oh wow,
Um,
you did more work than me this
so
time around.
want me to go over all those?
Oh yeah, hit me with one.
All right. So the first one that caught my eye was really high rated. Although now that I look at it, it says based on 18 ratings liked by 3 people. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh
But
okay.
they have a score of 80 and 76. Pretty high.
All right.
It's called London Brew, and it is
Okay.
just like really outside electric free jazz. Um,
Okay.
it's a lot cooler. I found another album on here that will remain nameless,
Uh
but
huh.
I went and watched some of that shit, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, there's a guy like on his knees just making noises into a microphone,
Yeah.
just some weird shit. This is actually like pretty cool free jazz, but it's still free jazz, so it's really weird. All the songs are like the shortest song is well, there's a 2 minute song, but the rest of them are over like 7 minutes, like
Yeah.
23, 15, big
Mm-hmm.
long weird shit.
Yeah.
But somewhat interesting if you're into that kind of thing.
Well, do you think free jazz is the jazz that people fear the most?
It should be.
Because it is. It's probably the most avant-garde, right? It's just like
Oh yeah.
noise and like. It's like
Yeah. This has a little more of like a beat at parts, but
yeah,
yeah, still pretty noisy. Lots of stuff going on.
yeah. I feel like that sort of thing. It's like you always got to like rip a fat bowl and clean your living room and kitchen and stuff.
Yeah, you want to be doing something else probably.
Yeah, if you just sit on the couch and you put it on, especially if like say you bring a date home and you have her sit on the other couch and you sit on the other couch and you just look at her and you put on free jazz, you're a psychopath.
If she doesn't leave within
Marry
30
that
seconds,
woman.
marry, yeah, marry.
But if she looks nervous, kill that woman. She can't be allowed to leave.
uh,
But I tried to scan. I brought up the link, which I should have had ready to go. But once again, getting used to it again. So That was what was the name of that one again?
London Brew.
London Brew. You thought it
And
was
the
pretty decent
album,
though. They didn't experiment too hard.
yeah, I just I gave a few, like, I looked for like a recommended track on the site and gave it a little listen. So, yeah, it's out there for sure, but it's not like all the way out there.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Apex Twin, right? Electronic. That's a little like
Yeah.
mood and all over the place and just like little tweaks and creaks and cracks and it's 13 minutes long. Like I can get into that stuff if it sets the right tone and the right mood. But there is a certain point where I think free jazz at times maybe shares this with electronic music where it's like, well, I'm noise, right? And then it's just like almost pure static or like three different waves of static like warbling around each other and that's it. It's just like, it's not musical. It's just
Yep.
fucking noise. And it's just like, but who am I to judge? Maybe somebody's just puts that on and is like, fuck yeah.
Some
But
people get into it.
yeah, it's I love an avant-garde album. I've been talking about that with Shocky a lot lately, where he's like wanting to get more into some like really just good, feel good. You can put it on in the background. It makes people feel good, and like music that doesn't like disturb too much. And I'm definitely more of the mindset of, yeah, fuck the audience. Do something weird. Cut into this part out of nowhere.
Make them be like, whoa, what was that? Pull them back into the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is a line, and knowing where that line is a very particular thing. The more and more I listen to it, because like you talk to Shocky, he's like, no, that's just too jarring. That's crazy. And then I'll be like, System of a Down made a career out of transitions like that, so it ain't
Yeah.
that weird.
And Zappa, man, he jumped from both sides of the line, I would say.
Sure,
He got all the way out there, he got right into the feel good and all in between.
sure. Then I mean, you could take a band like Radiohead, where I don't think they transition quickly or harshly, but like they'll bend the melody of it and like strain that.
Yeah.
It's like a slow build, and but it's still really cool shit. It's like, what is avant garde really? Similar to a conversation I was having where it's like, how do you define heavy? Like everybody you talk to has a different definition.
Oh, I know. Everybody I talk to is like, I just got tuned my guitar lower. I'm like, that's not heavy.
Well, it's like if you don't distort that, it's just that's pretty low.
Yeah.
Do-do, do-do, do-do. But whatever. Anyway, we'll get back to
Yeah.
these new releases. Did you listen to Jesus at the Gay Bar?
No, I didn't see that one.
Well, it's an interesting cover. Just some dude's sexy back.
Nice.
Oh, wrestling with another dude. That has a
There you
user
go.
score of 57. Not so good. Critic score
Yeah.
of 70. I did not listen to it.
Hmm.
I just barely noticed the cover, so
Sometimes those will get you.
sometimes you're like, what's that? What was your next one?
Next one is one I actually have heard. It's on some of Kristen's playlists. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Boy Genius, and
Ah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
yeah the three Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, and Julian Baker, and
Mm-hmm.
the Illuminati Hotties. It's the
Oh,
backup band. Hell yeah,
there you go.
that's some tasty t- modern pop, folky pop stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty tasty stuff. Not indie folk. That's what.
Yep. That's what I would
Yeah.
call it. Indie folk pop. Indie folk. But yeah,
Yep.
Phoebe Bridgers is the only one I really know from that.
Uh huh.
She's pretty great. I think one of the bigger names out there these days,
Yeah.
especially with like underground stuff. Yeah, it's also something that isn't like my go-to genre wise, but you could tell it's really good. And like if somebody put it on and wanted to talk, go on a ride, clean the house,
Yeah.
go, yeah, it would fit a lot of different situations. I wouldn't be
And
mad
I
at it.
right on that same level was another band called Arx, ARXX. Their
Mm-hmm.
album's called Ride or Die. and they're a little more like punky, kind of like Tegan and Sarah, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of the same kind of thing. They're I I enjoyed that one a lot more than I thought I would.
Hmm. All
So
right.
pretty tasty pop punky kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess I've been noticing that slightly making a bit of a comeback, at least from my perception of things. Um, Here locally, there's two pop punk acts. One's called Caustic Soda, and the other
Huh.
one's called Plasma Canvas. And we went and saw them for Plasma Canvas's album release. They put on a really good show, and yeah, I'm not normally into pop punk, but in terms of how they played it and presented it, I was like, they did a really good job. So
Nice.
I'm okay with a bit of that coming back. It's like, to
Yeah.
what degree? I'm definitely getting a little tired of the psych rock thing that everybody seems to be doing.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, it's getting a little overplayed, but then again, that stuff never really drew me in that hard to begin with, so it's just not for me. More power to them.
Same.
NPR shouted out this album. I have not listened to the whole thing, but a couple songs. It was Wednesday's Rat Saw God. Happen to listen to
Huh.
that one?
No.
It's. I will say that I find it boring and predictable as indie shoegaze rock.
Ah.
If I
Yeah.
said it was, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I'm like, NPR is like praising it as like, this is a snapshot of America. And you're like,
Oh boy.
no. It's just like one little slice of them. It's indie shoegaze shit. Like, it's nothing new.
None of that stuff has ever surprised me.
Yeah.
All the shoegaze stuff, I'm like, oh, it's more of that. Okay.
Well, and maybe we're
Oh.
picky about stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, just don't exaggerate it beyond what it is. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't a revolutionary album that's like, I don't see people talking about it 20 years from now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what was funny, why I bring that up, is NPR posted. Excuse me. NPR posted that, and then of course there was something in the news recently about how like NPR is state-ran media or something like that, and then everybody
Uh,
underneath it is just like, I'm sick. The state-ran media trying to tell me what to listen to, and they try to program me into this shoegaze pop punk stuff. And you're like, no, like, it's just a lame album review. Like, pretentious, like, you should be listening to this. That's the most revolutionary thing I've heard in years.
yeah, NPR isn't like it's like a whole bunch of different people. They don't all have to like vote on something getting printed. It's not like all NPR agrees with this.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Kellen, but I looked deeper and I realized it's the deep state trying to turn us all into shoegaze indie rockers.
oh.
That way we'll stop having children.
NPR is the deep state because they tell the truth too much.
Yeah. Public ran truth telling radio.
God damn it.
Well, that brought everything to a little bit of a halt. Let's keep going.
All right. The other one is a metal band I found, and I actually was like, "Shit, I'm gonna have to listen to this whole album." I was liking it. It's called the band is Sermon. The
Mm-hmm.
album is Of Golden Verse.
Yeah,
Critic
okay.
score of 89, pretty high.
Yeah.
Um, and it's cool metal, like singing metal with a lot of opera behind the singer. And I've always liked that. I'm sure there's some screaming, but more singing, but not like power metal singing. Not the
Kind
ha
of like
ha. Yeah,
Demu Borg, or however you say
yeah,
their name.
yeah.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
I tell you what that makes me turn off metal immediately these days is the which, like, all right, fine, I haven't turned it off yet, but then on a dime, predictably, it goes right up into like this soaring power chord chorus. And then I saw the light. You
Yep.
know, but then right, that's when I decided dark. You're just like,
Squeal. Yep.
yeah, you're like, all right, and it makes me sad because I was like, if I was a teenager and this was the metal that was coming out, it's like I feel like I would have been going nuts on it. Would have loved it, but maybe
Yeah.
not. I don't know.
Dude, I was weird listening to Strapping Young Lad, and that album feels like a freight train is coming at you the whole time. Like you're
Yeah.
just about to be ran over. It
Mm-hmm.
never does any of that stuff. So
Which one
cool.
was that? Was that Alien or
Yeah,
okay?
Alien.
Would you say that's the heaviest one out of all those?
That might be the
Your
heaviest
definition of
one.
heavy? Yeah.
That might be the heaviest one as far as just outright anger and power and speed. I like the new Black the most, though.
Hmm. I
For
need to give
anybody who has
those
listened.
albums separate listens because when I was shown Devin Townsend, I like went and got a bunch of his stuff, and then it was just on shuffle on my iPod. So then
Yeah,
it's like it kind of all blended together, and it's like I really do need to go digest albums on their own because the ones
yeah,
I've
his
done that with are like ones I really like, and I think that that probably is because of the albumy nature of them.
yeah, and his production has gotten so much better. So each album, you kind of got to get into the feel of the production of it. Like
Yeah.
his earlier ones, he's gone for this wall of sound, but he's dialed it in now. Like
Hmm.
Deconstruction sounds so much better than those albums, but it's part of the album. So
Sure. I think that that transitions pretty nicely into West Borland's surprise release.
yeah,
I love West Borland. Probably those of you that know me or have listened to a fair amount of this podcast know he's like a huge inspiration on me. I
yep,
love him. Love everything he does. I have listened to this like 6 or 7 times, but I feel like I haven't even truly really digested it yet. It's like a lot of
yeah,
like throw it on while I'm going on a long walk or throw it on while I'm cleaning.
yep.
I haven't done the old like smoke a bowl, play some Mario, and throw it on.
Really get in there.
Yeah, really get in there, scrub the fucking edges. But
Yeah,
I don't know if you read the whole post on it and everything, but one interesting aspect of it, of Mutiny on the Star Barge, is his brother Scott Borland is all over this record, and he
yeah,
arranged the strings and played some cello, I think.
yeah. There's some nice string stuff on it.
Yeah. Um, Care to elaborate on any of that more as a music theory fella? Did anything kind of stick out different from this one compared to his other albums?
I just I think he did a great job of like taking the concept and executing it. Like this whole album feels very spacey to me. It
Yeah.
totally sounds like a space album. Um, I think the my favorite one's probably that Lexicon Galactus, that sweet bass line.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like
Yeah.
super slappy. That shit's badass. No, it's just a cool kind of put it on in the background album and space rock.
Yeah.
Sweet.
No, definitely. What I was really enjoying about it, other than what you just said, like, because I totally agree with that, but having his brother on it, they have a very similar note choice between the two of them. And
Yeah.
you can hear that in their band they did way back when he quit Limp Bizkit and like tried to go off on his own to do some other stuff. Him and
Uh
his
huh.
brother did Eat the Day, and for the longest time, Wes Borland's a guitar player, so that's what he did on the album, right? But turns out his brother Scott was doing the guitar, and then he played his 4 string guitar, which he played on Nookie, but it's like kind of like half guitar, half bass sort of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's interesting because they're like, oh wow, really? And then you go back and listen, and you're like, I guess that is a little different than what Wes normally plays or what he leans into, but this is like probably I would bet you anything that when they were putting this album together, they saw it as like, well, it's another solo Wes Borland record, but this is a little bit of an extension of the Eat the Day stuff as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just their note choice between them, it reminded me of that concept I learned, like listening to some bluegrass stuff, where it was like blood harmony. It's like I
Huh.
know that's in the voice and stuff, but it was almost like blood harmony of note choice in a way to me.
Yeah.
It's just like they just really know right where to go for this particular thing. It was kind of stood out to me. It was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of growing up in the same influences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You think you have that with
Nice.
your brothers a little bit?
People do tell us all the time when we sing harmony. They're like, "Oh man, you guys sing harmony together, so nice."
Yeah.
We do have kind of similar voices, so
Do you feel like
I
there's
think
a
there's a thing to it.
commonality in the note choices playing, or is that kind of each to each their own a little bit more?
I think we tend for the same kind of things. We usually whenever we're doing something in like back when we were doing Swamp Donkey, we'd always be like Carl would write a part, and I'd immediately know when I was going to play over it, and I'd write a part, and I would know what he was going to do over mine.
Mm-hmm.
you know, like all right, we're going to do this.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So,
Perhaps a part of that is just being open to whatever, and then knowing
mhm.
somebody's taste and style. Like I think really quickly when we did Fakoshka, our stuff just like locked in. You guys would pick up whatever I was throwing down, and like, yep, that's what that would be. And it
Yep.
was like really quick. But I don't know, stuff like that is intriguing to me because I've definitely played with people where I don't think it was a stubbornness on anybody's part. It was just like, yeah, nah, I go this way, and you want to
Yeah.
go that way, and I don't know, just not
Happens.
hearing it.
Yep.
I suppose that does lead into there's the new Depeche Mode record,
Yeah.
which for those that are into Depeche Mode would probably know this, like as like, well, obviously, but I have no idea how many people are aware. They had a key member of their band pass away, like a little over a year ago or something like that, and he was
Oh.
never a main songwriter, but they saw him as the guy that kept the whole group together because now you have Martin Gore left and David Gahan, the singer,
Yeah.
and those two butt heads throughout the entire discography of Depeche Mode.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy he was the glue, and then he passes away unexpectedly, and they're just like, well, do we keep doing this? And do we, as old men, do we learn to get along and keep this going, like in honor of him and just honor of our careers and shit like that? So
Oh, yeah.
it's a very death focused record and just getting older. It's like this the
Hmm.
inevitability of it all. And it's obviously I think there's a bit of a career retrospective in it where they're tapping into all the stuff they did over their career. It does feel a little bit like a curtain call or like bowing out like I don't know. I hope they make more music. I always do, as long as they can. But I could see it also being the last thing they ever do. How does it hit you as
Yeah.
somebody who's not a? I don't know if you would call yourself a Depeche Mode fan. At least you're not hardcore on them.
No, definitely not hardcore. I don't like dislike them at all, but
Yeah.
um, I enjoyed the new one. Uh, I didn't I didn't think of it in that way. I didn't know all that backstory though.
Hmm.
Uh, but listening to it, it did feel a little bit like more laid back than some of their other stuff I've heard.
Hmm.
Felt like there was less going on, like overall,
Yeah.
like as far as like a lot of different noises or maybe more aggressive synth noises.
Yeah.
I feel like they always kind of kept it to like a beat, a bass, a pad, and like a line. There's always like
Hmm.
four parts in the music,
Yeah.
and it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Seeing how they messed with that, the different voices.
I used to imitate that when I was doing the turtleneck stuff and Fruity Loops. That was when I was
Yeah.
like the biggest into Depeche Mode. And so I was like, I have to have at least 4 different things going on at all times.
Yeah, it's like the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar, the bass, the drums.
Yeah. And there's just this little like beep 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 beep. It's just like
Yep.
behind. But yeah, like it is. It's like somber and reflective and just I think they were maybe going back and diving into some older bleep boop noises that they used to use and let's
Hmm.
just simplify and construct it from this and yeah. I don't know. It's probably one of the best things they've released in a while. I usually can
Yeah.
find something to appreciate out of any album they put out, but yeah, it's maybe the most exciting thing they put out since Playing the Angel, which was back in 2006. So that's the only time I went and saw them live on that tour, and they're great live. So I hope they can keep that up. And yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, you should, man. So 2006. I wonder what it would be like now, but there's like surrounded by 40-year-old women just dancing their asses off, and like David Gahn does this like Rolling Stones kind of dance rip off thing, and
Yeah.
he always has the mic, so yeah, whoa! And then he like twirls, and just every woman in that audience is like, oh my god, woo! And just you just see all these husbands just kind of sitting there like arms folded, but like smiling. They're like tapping their feet, like, okay, yeah, yeah,
All right, he's hot.
yeah, well, okay, we can both bang him. But like, yeah, by the end of it, everybody's loosened up and just like it starts to be like hit after hit, and you're like, damn, this is just awesome. But yeah, so I just imagine now it's like, fuck, it's got to be like women in 50s, 60s, just like, woo, oh my fucking god, yeah. He's like, yeah. I just, oh man, I love that stuff.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Walker pit.
yeah, I don't know. I guess that's about all I got to say on that. That's Memento Mori, which is
Good
Latin.
stuff.
What's that
Yeah.
mean? I used to know it and then I forgot it.
I don't remember. I'll look it up.
Oh, hold on, dude.
Remember that you have to die.
Yep. There you go. Anything else you want
Cool.
to shout out, or you just want to
One
let
last one
everybody
that
know they need to remember that they have to die?
let's end on one more note.
Okay.
um, this one slipped by me. Maybe we talked about it and I forgot, but Cowboy Junkies released
Ah,
an album called Sharon last September. That's got some. It's called Sharon, but then all the tracks say Sharon Sessions. I haven't looked up what the deal is with it, but there's like a Rolling Stones cover on it. There's some good tunes on it. More Cowboy Junkies goodness. As far as I
sure.
can tell, they can't do anything bad.
Yeah.
It's either amazing or good.
Just like they're just solid. Is that spelled Charon, like the moon?
SH.
S8. Oh, like so Sharon. Sharon. Sharon.
Sharon.
Sharon.
Yeah.
Um, there was a new Pussifer remix album that has a couple interesting remixes on it, but it's
Oh,
also like just a remix album. But the
nice.
one by Fantagram was good, and then Trent Reznor did a remix on it. Which, for those that are into Nine Inch Nails or Maynard, there's a project they were going to work on back in the day called Tapeworm, and it never came to
Huh.
fruition. And in an interview, they were like, "Oh, how come that never came out? It seems like that would be amazing." And then they're like, "Well, if it's going to be us collaborating, that's probably what it should be, and everything we were doing was okay, which is fine." So it's like,
Yeah.
if you're going to be a collaboration between us releasing, it has to be awesome, or why do it? It just like can't be this like, so, yeah, it's pretty good. Because then everybody will be like, "Oh, see, they got together. Not as good as they said it was going to be, huh?" I could see that. So logic makes
Yeah,
sense, but that remix on here, it's like that does make you like, I wonder if it would have been a little bit like this kind of thing.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Interesting.
there's one album I've been grooving to by Alton Gun, but that's like GU with the two dots above the U and the N,
Ah,
almost like a name, Alton Gun
goon.
or Goon. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's what the umlaut means.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It does seem to be not from America. Seems like foreign made music. I'm gonna guess
Nice.
somewhere in Asia or the Middle East if I had to guess, but I really don't know. And it's called Ask, but then there's like another weird symbol under the S in Ask, so I don't even like Ask. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it grooves. So just look up Ask by Alton Gun, and it's like sort of like Tame Impala, but if it was from India or something.
Ah, shit. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it ain't too bad. I've spun it a couple times, but last but not least, any like singles or random singular songs, new or old, that you came across recently worth mentioning?
Um, no, not really. I don't really stumble across singles too often, though. So,
Fair enough. I will point out two or act three actually, real quick, and we'll call it good then, I guess.
sounds
Stumbled
good.
across a song by a band called Spiral Drive called Space Train.
Hmm.
Has almost 3 million listens, so it's not that obscure.
Woo.
And
Yeah.
it is definitely that psych rock thing that I'm getting a little tired of. So I want you to listen to it and then tell me what's different about it next time.
Gotcha.
Because I'm like, why is this clicking for me? And then stuff that I know is sort of in the same genre, like why am I like, eh? Because yeah,
Interesting.
it grooves along and it's got a real just nice, and that is the main thing, the groove of the bass and the drums in it, and then how that's decorated by everything else. Like tonally, it sounds great. It really grooves along.
Hmm.
The vocals don't annoy me. It's good stuff. So, Space Train by Spiral Drive. Then one
Nice.
that I could see this getting worn out real fast. But I could be wrong. Maybe this is going to be like a great artist that I'm into. But I could see it going either way. It's like that band Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
It's like where it's like that's awesome, but no, it's not. Like I don't know, and I haven't even listened to any of his other songs yet. So I this could be a quick like one and done for me. But this guy is called Johnny Goth,
Huh.
and he put out an acoustic version of one of his other songs called "Come to Me," and it's like really chill and spacey and like yeah, she's trying to go for that spacey, sexy goth vampire thing. And I was in the shower shaving my head, and that came on random. I was like, yeah, that's a mood. I like that. And then yeah, I don't know. That's all I could say about that one. But Johnny Goth, "Come to Me" acoustic. It's a
Okay.
vibe. And so maybe I don't know. We'll decide off air, so to speak, but we'll pick one album from him, maybe the newest one. Give that a listen, see if we like it. We can talk about that next time.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And one last shout out is Remco, that bassist I think I've sent to you before.
Yeah.
It has a really good groove to him. It's really in the pocket. He did a single release with in collaboration with the Big Old Nasty Get Down.
Hmm.
So
Hell yeah.
they took one of his bass tracks that he released just solo and then put this funk arrangement around the whole thing.
Damn.
and it's really good. I sent that to Corey because Corey's been having me send him random albums, and he's like, "That's pretty funky as hell." I was like, "Yep." So if you haven't heard it yet, it's Trill Seekers. So Trill
Oh, yeah.
Seekers.
I've heard of that somewhere. Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So yeah, Remco Hendricks on bass and the big ol' nasty get down. So perhaps the big ol' nasty get down. Yeah, this is worth pointing out real quick is that they're a Los Angeles-based producer, John Heinz, thought the magic of jam sessions and sit-ins shouldn't be confined to one-off opportunities. When the right combination of seasoned musicians gets together, music can be pulled out of the ether, fusing together the unique voices of the players and taking the music into uncharted sonic territory.
Oh boy.
So I thought if unscripted jamming could sound so good and natural on stage, then bringing that energy and camaraderie to the studio could produce some incredible music. So out of that idea, he created the Big Old Nasty Get Down, working alongside Yo Mama's Big Fat Booty Band, J.P. Miller and Derek Johnson, as well as producer and musician Frank Mapstone. And then he built a collective of hundreds of musicians and artists that defy the boundaries of genre, age, and geography. The project has seen members of legendary funk bands such as The Meters, Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament Funkadelic, Fishbone, Mudvayne, Arrested Development, The Lee Boys, and Living Color. I like how they call Mudvayne a legendary funk band. They're just talking about Ryan Martini. Both albums
Oh,
were
yeah.
recorded by gathering musicians for week-long retreats that were part jam, part writing session, and part house party.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I wish I was more social. I think I'd be more into stuff like that, but I'm a picky listener, picky writer, and pretty introverted, so. But we should
Yep.
do something like that one day. Go up into a cabin, get a couple drinks, maybe a little something of this, something of that.
Good.
Just do a free
I
jam
actually
session.
I got a spot now.
Got a spot to
We
record.
Yeah, down in southern Utah, we met up with an old buddy that's got a studio down there and some spots to crash. We got that option.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we've
That'd be a good
been
time.
trying some stuff out up here as well.
Yeah.
And so far, it's coming across more like you could record drums here option. It doesn't feel like the spot to record the rest of the stuff. It's like we might keep the rest of it recorded here at the home base, Butter Street
It's
Studios.
nice.
But
There you go.
yeah, if we could get some Koshka stuff actually going, go down to southern Utah. I'm all about that.
Hell yeah, it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. I say we're doing this publicly, but who fucking listens anyways? I say we just move on to Jazzus and do that.
Do it.
I'll recycle all these old riffs from other stuff. The Kofefe period. Just throw that into Gamma Pa where it fits. Rework it. Except for Charlie. Charlie needs to come out. Fuck Koshka.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, it sounds pretty good. Thanks for coming back on, Kellen, and hope to see you regularly as much as we can get you.
Indeed, sounds good.
And yeah, maybe talk to you next week. Hopefully we do. You have a good one.
Y'all as well. Bye.
All right, my buddy Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. As I was telling you before I hit record, I'm a little sleepy, but that's fine. Because we are going to be getting into the beginnings of our Stephen King ranking. We were discussing not too long ago about just going through the whole damn thing. And we're just going to be focusing on, like the beginning of it, so like late 70s to the end of the 80s. And that's the time we are covering. Some things to point out. We're just ranking them. But there are certain Stephen King adaptations that aren't very close to the source material. They like just took the name or whatever. And so I actually on my list have The Running Man and Creepshow 2 off of my ranking list because they're just so devoid of Stephen Kingness. That yeah, they are not on my list. And then there's a couple episodes of stuff like where is that? Guess I have the long. Oh yeah, like Twilight Zone episodes, Tales
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the Dark Side. We're not going to be doing any of that. So, did you do the same thing with your list as the Running Man off of it? Anything else off of it?
Yeah, Running Man and Creepshow too. Honestly, I would have put them near the bottom anyway. So
Yeah,
the Running Man might be a little higher, but Creepshow 2 definitely would have been on the bottom anyway.
we were kind of talking about that when we watched The Running Man because I was like, depending on my mood, The Running Man is way higher on this list in terms of what I'd prefer to watch. But
Yeah.
but that's if I'm like in a cheesy 80s Arnold kind of mood. Like, nothing about the movie is Stephen King to me.
Yeah.
And so it's just
Well,
like, yeah, we can't go on the list.
just reading the synopsis of The Running Man and comparing it to the movie, having never read the book, I know it's not anywhere close.
Yeah. And, and so I would say out of that, I'm usually more in a Stephen King mood than an Arnold mood. So it's just kind of, it's just different. I guess, yeah, The Running Man, I'll just mention super quick, was like one of the, was it Richard Bachman, his other pen name?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those books. So it's like, I think those tend to be a little more sci fi than horror, or like him kind of messing with different genre stuff, but I'm not totally sure on that either. But, that one, it's like, it's just a regular old scrawny dude that has to survive for 100 days while society chases him. If somebody kills him, they get a reward. So, yeah.
Yeah. And who's perfect to cast as a regular old scrawny dude? Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know.
Yeah, with an American name like my name is Richard Johnson. Stop it. Yeah. So anyway, let's get going into the actual Stephen King ranking. How we're gonna do this is we're just gonna go tit for tat back and forth, working our way up from the bottom of the list, which should be 14, to ranking number one. I'll let you go first.
My bottom is Firestarter.
Ah, shit. Okay.
I thought it was a kind of a boring movie.
Yeah. Elaborate a little bit more on that.
The acting was mediocre at best, pretty bad at worst. The the scenes seemed to drag on. They weren't doing anything particularly cool effects wise, except for there's a lot of fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know. I don't know. There wasn't
Yeah.
there wasn't much salvaging it for me.
I'll go ahead and mention where it's ranked for me. It's at 13, so there's one below it. And I think the only reason it's not at the bottom it is because there are some interesting things brought up in it, like the concept of the shop or whatever that is.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
like things that appear in other Stephen King things, I think helps this movie out. You're like, oh, does she have The Shining? What's this shop thing? Is the one guy, George C. Scott, the bad guy, like is he kind of like one of those true not folks, like sort of pseudo vampiric, or like it's the
yeah,
story and concepts in the movie that like elevated just a bit for me. But yeah, George C. Scott's creepy. It's boring. And not creepy in a good Stephen King way, like creepy in like seems borderline
yeah.
inappropriate kind of way. And yeah, overlong, boring. By the time you get to the Drew Barrymore like third act of her just like going crazy with fire, it's like, like who gives a shit?
Yep. Yeah.
So that being
Definitely.
said, this entire list of 14, I like every single one of these movies. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is based on this list alone. I would actually still be like, yeah, Firestarter's pretty good. but it would not be one I'd recommend, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it stays or lands. Um, I suppose as we do these in the future, we'll get into the 90s era of Stephen King and the 2000s. I think
Yep.
maybe do the
Yep.
ranking for each segment, and then we'll do one final ranking. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Firestarter, I'm curious to see where that will stay as we start adding in some of the 90s, 2000s stuff, because that's where I think it really starts to flail, kind of like a hose, garden hose, just
Yeah.
going nuts. You're like, good. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not. But so I suppose that leaves me with what my 14 is, and that's Cujo. Um,
Wow, you're
yeah,
way lower.
yeah. It used to be a little higher, and I really like it. I think it's amazing what they managed to pull off with the rabid dog as the bad guy movie. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing for what it reads as plot wise. You're like, really? That's the whole movie, and they do a really good job. I love the
It's a,
cinematography and the vibe, but I guess I started looking at the list like what would I rather watch if I had a choice between the two, and everything else I like just has a little bit more something to it to like draw me in that just keeps Cujo at the bottom.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, I
really
mean,
it.
it is a really, really simple concept of a movie. Like there's not anything, there's no twists or turns really. It's just a very straightforward plot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was just a good kind of silly movie.
What also factored into it being at the bottom is, yeah, once again, it's that rewatchability factor. And it's actually a compliment to the film, but a thing that's going to keep me from watching it, which is how good the kid actor is at
Yeah.
acting like he's starving and afraid for his life, because he's really great at playing the part and incredibly obnoxious and loud
Yep.
and like, ugh, like, yeah, he's doing a good job, but I do not want to watch that. That is annoying. That is annoying as shit. So that's another reason. But with that, what's your 13?
This one I could see me placing elsewhere, but as of right now, this is just immediately after watching the movie, putting it in the ranking. It's Thinner.
Oh shit! I forgot to put Thinner in here. Forgot that we started that at a different
Oh.
time. Thinner that low though, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I really love the movie. It's just a nice silly concept. It's a decent story, but it's just I don't know. There's others I like more
All right.
for different reasons. Yeah.
Is it the low budget nature of it,
No,
like
because
the
I don't
made for
mind.
TV vibe?
I didn't mind the lower budget as much. It felt more like it would fit better as like a story in one of the compilation movies, like Cat's Eye. Like
Yeah.
it would have fit better shorter. And I mean, it's not a bad story. I just thought it was a little drug out for what it was.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it did slightly overstay its welcome. Um, at times, I love the main character doing what he's doing, and then there's other times he's like perhaps chewing the scenery too much.
Yeah.
He's just really overdoing it. And you're like, oh boy.
Well, pretty
Um,
much every actor in that movie is kind of overdoing it.
well,
I think it
what
was
about his gangster
intentionally a little
buddy? He
silly.
always does a good job, kind of
Yeah.
maintaining.
Yeah.
I forget that actor's name, but he was in the last season of Barry. It was awesome seeing him in that.
Yeah.
I will let you know where Thinner was in the ranking as we get to it. It's quite a bit higher for me. So my numbers are a little screwed up. So your last was Firestarter, then Thinner. So I already discussed Firestarter and Cujo. So I guess it's 13, not 12. Right above Firestarter for me is Children of the Corn.
Oh, we're pretty close on that one. Mine's Silver Bullet.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let's do Children of the Corn, because Silver Bullet's a little
Okay.
higher for me.
Okay. I like Children of the Corn because it is for a movie that's very dated, obviously. The effects are not great and everything.
Yeah.
I think the story is kind of interesting, just like a bunch of kids
Yeah.
in like a little cult thing. I mean, usually cult, story elements turn me off, but
Sure.
I don't know. For some reason, it works.
Do you think because we both grew up in Utah that it has a little bit more of an appeal to us?
Maybe.
Just like weird little creepy culty kids. So you're like, like, they're a little extra. But no, yeah, it would be at the bottom if it wasn't for how much I love the acting of the two bad guy kids.
Yeah.
Like their line deliveries and moments, like Outlander, we have your woman, Outlander. Like it just, what are you gonna put him up on the cross? He's like, no. Like it, I love it. What's that actor's name? The guy that seems like he's a kid, but he was like really in his 30s
Oh,
or something.
I'll look him up real
All right.
quick.
While you're
But
looking
he's
him up,
in a lot of things. Yeah.
that's what saves it and puts it above Firestarter and Cujo is just those memorable performances because beyond that, the special effects are terrible, the acting's pretty bad. Like the decision making of the protagonist, they're just like, oh, okay, just run over there, I guess.
Yeah. So
And yeah,
Isaac in that movie is John Franklin.
John
Is his name.
Franklin, he rules. He was in the movie we watched last night, Wag the Dog, briefly. He
Yeah,
was
very briefly.
in Tammy the T Rex.
Yep.
Other stuff. Maybe you got his list up, but no, yeah, it's as simple as that. Like the story is definitely the thing that makes it go up just a little higher, and then those two performances, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like, yeah, it's overlong, not great acting, plot doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But that's all right. So did you say Silver Bullet was right above that one? Or there?
Yeah. Yeah. There is Silver Bullet for me.
Okay.
So third from the bottom. Yep.
Elaborate on that.
Um, it didn't make it very high just because one, I don't really like monster flicks in general, like just your traditional like Universal monster kind of things.
Sure.
I mean, it's not that, but it's derivative of that.
Sure.
And I don't know, it was a nice silly movie. I enjoyed watching it. I'd watch it again, but you got your Gary Busey and
Yeah.
and I don't know. It again feels like it shouldn't be a movie. It should have been in one of those anthology series.
Could have been good.
Like if you took Thinner, Silver Bullet, and I don't know, we'll have another to talk about.
Children
A third
of
one.
the Corn, maybe. I don't know.
You could just condense that into a 3-part anthology like they did with Creepshow and Cat's Eye.
Yeah. Well, I had Silver Bullet up at number 9. And that is because of Gary Busey and what it did with, like, rather than it being just the Monster of the Week thing to me, like it is that functionally, but adding the elements of like, oh, the werewolf's a priest and thinks that he's like cleansing the town when he like eats them. And then he like uses the baseball bat that he steals from the one guy, and so like the little touches to make it a little more than just a werewolf.
Yeah, I
Was
like the
pretty great to me.
vigilante townspeople. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
I mean, that's always great. It's a Stephen King trope. It's like the town
Yeah.
either being haunted or locked in someplace and how they slowly turn on each other and become culty.
Yeah.
It's and then Gary Busey and kid on a rocket wheelchair and fireworks and werewolf eyes, and it's a lot of 80s stuff to it that charms me,
Yeah.
that I think moves it up as far as it is. Cuz it's like there's no Gary Busey in the movies below that for me. Like
Yeah.
so far with every movie, it's been some solid acting, good acting. I guess maybe the closest you get for me so far is Children of the Corn, like those two guys. But that's
Yeah.
just I don't know. It's not like that is Gary Busey esque, I suppose. It's just like really weird delivery. But yeah, that was number 9. So are you? I guess it's your 12 or your 11.
My 12 is Children of the Corn. So it was Silver Bullet, then Children of the Corn.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. So we've discussed that a little bit. So I guess way down on my list at 11, which I guess would be 12 now, is right above Children of the Corn. That's Creepshow.
Oh,
I
nice.
I like it a lot, but I think every story overstays its welcome a little bit,
Yeah.
except for maybe the Leslie Nielsen, like burying him at the beach. Like I really like that. I think that's pretty well spaced.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's I was like, all right. He's just like, give me my cake, bitch. It's my birthday. Like, it's awesome, but like, that's kind of all it is. But like visually, that's where it's like really great. And I think if it didn't have that touch, then it would
Yeah.
be at the bottom.
That little Romero magic of
Yeah, just like the colorized backlighting to like evoke mood or tension and just yeah, the stylized how it kind of goes from a comic book to real life. Like they did a really good job with that, and then in Creepshow too, just like terrible.
hmm
But yeah, I liked all the stories in Creepshow, but yeah, just I don't know, I get bored
Yeah.
a little bit with it.
Yeah, my creep show is pretty much in the same spot. It's just slightly higher. I thought creep show was I mean, it's pretty much smack dab in the middle of the list. It's a a good anthology, it you got the Romero magic that we talked about earlier, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know. I don't think any story really has time to overstay its welcome. Like it's you got your 3 stories, and if you don't really like this one, there's another one coming. So
That's true. So above Creepshow at my 11 is Salem's Lot.
oh, okay, we're pretty close on that one too. Mine's Maximum Overdrive
Ah,
at 11.
okay, we're all kind of generally close here. Let's go over Salem's Lot.
Okay,
Um,
so that's the only one that was the TV show 3-part series. So it's 3 hours long in total. We
yeah,
watched it all in one sitting as a movie, which maybe wasn't optimal, but who knows?
yeah. It's just dated.
Yeah,
I think it's out of all the films on here, maybe I don't know, maybe that's not true, but I think it's like ripe for a remake, and I think it is being remade. I thought,
it is. Yeah. End of
yeah.
this month, actually.
Oh wow,
There's a Salem's Lot coming out.
was that by the guy that did Doctor Sleep, or did I mishear that, or is he like producing it?
Uh, I think it's um here, I'll look it up.
Yeah, while you're looking it up, I'll just say that Yeah, this has like some really great creepy shots at times. Like, wow, the 1970s on TV, huh? Kind of thing. But at the exact same time, because it's for TV, 1970s, a lot of the kills are like the head just goes on the neck and then it freeze, like does a freeze frame. And then, yeah, commercial break. I don't know. The acting was fine. No particular character I thought did a great job. Yeah, it's very made for TV and
Yeah,
early on,
it
so I think that's really it. Like, I love the
it
story.
may have been limited by what they were allowed to put on TV at the
Right.
time. I don't know the ins and outs of that, and it being, what was it, 70 something,
Yeah, like 78, you said?
76.
76?
Oh no, 79. So it's the
Uh-huh.
same year. That's actually the same year as Alien when it came out. That was on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, doesn't go there enough. Like, I'll say that it really tries where it can. Like, the man who has his wife cheating on him with her boss. And like
Hmm.
that whole scene with him and the shotgun, you're like, that's a pretty good scene, especially for TV. And it is like a nice little like sub story to the main plot that Stephen King does really well, I think.
Hmm.
But that's probably those little moments, and just like there are moments of dialogue explaining the house, like the guy talking to his English teacher about like, do you think a place can truly be evil? Like, just the little ponderings of what you find in a lot of Stephen King books. They did a good job in Salem's Lot. It's probably why it's considered one of his better books. But
Yeah,
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 ABC, not good enough.
yeah. So on the new Salem's Lot show that's coming out,
Hmm.
um, movie, I should say, not TV show.
That's
It's
good.
Gary Doberman,
I thought you were gonna
who
say Gary Busey. I was like, yes.
no, he was a writer on It, so he's worked on Stephen King before, but this is him directing, not writing.
Okay.
But he's also worked with like James Wan on the Annabelle stuff and other.
Ah,
Yeah,
well, my enthusiasm went down a little bit, but I'll give it a shot.
yep.
So above. So what is your 11? Did we already say that one?
My 11 was Maximum Overdrive.
Okay, mine is Maximum Overdrive is at 8 for me, so we can get into that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, Stephen King on cocaine. They
yeah,
let they
pretty
let him
much
make a movie.
the only one he directed. So out of this list, so yeah,
That was the interesting thing I discovered. Like reading a bunch of reviews on Letterboxd was seems like the same year as the year he went to rehab for drug use and alcoholism and all that. And yeah, I think that there is kind of a clear cutoff for like wacky, weird, drugged out Stephen King, and then
yeah,
86, and then after that, it is a little more subdued, a little something else.
yeah. I mean, Maximum Overdrive definitely does show that coked out side of
Yeah,
just wacky, you know, and
yeah,
ACDC doing the music, and like
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
it was
like
very silly.
instead of like the violin's psycho stab, like they have ACDC going like yeah, 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 yeah. They're like, what the fuck is this? And then um yeah, it's an adaptation from a short story Trucks.
Hmm.
And it's just like aliens taking over semi trucks or like machinery and yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's like it gets regarded as like this is one of the worst movies ever, but like no, it's
Oh
actually
yeah,
entertainingly made.
it is
It's
very entertainingly made. The
it's silly as
cinematography is pretty
fuck.
good too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's worth mentioning. Is that the details are like I didn't see a lot of detail on it, but the director of photography got like oh man, what was it? Some
It was
if
the
you
lawnmower
the
scene, wasn't it?
lawnmower, yeah, like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a piece of wood or glass or something, but it like got him in the eye, and it's just like holy shit, like especially for like a director of photography.
Hmm.
And so they sued Stephen King over that and his directing. I guess maybe he was not fully paying attention to everything he needed to. But, maybe, yeah, just blame the cocaine. That's what I say.
Yep.
But after that, what is your 10?
Salem's Lot. So we've already
So it was a
talked
lot.
about that
My
one.
10 was Thinner.
Oh,
My,
you're quite a bit higher
oh, yeah.
on Thinner.
Yep. Um, we already went over that. So you're 9?
9 is Creep Show.
Creep Show. So mine is Silver Bullet. At 8 for me is Maximum Overdrive. What's your 8?
Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye. That's 6 for me.
I mean,
What? Yeah,
they're right. The two anthologies are just like right next to each other, right in the middle. You know.
yeah. So I guess we could get into that a little bit. Is perhaps it's as simple as I grew up watching Cat's Eye,
Yeah.
and this watch this current watch we're doing of Stephen King movies was the first time I fully watched Creep Show. I had seen bits and pieces, but maybe it's just nostalgia that puts Cat's Eye over for me. But it's I don't know. I think like it's really like cleverly written, some fun dark humor.
Yeah.
I love the fucking troll.
Yeah. The transitions between the different stories is great.
Oh yeah, it's a good device. And I mean, yeah, I liked the acting in it a lot too. Like, oh man, like what's the one line? It's like, I could assure you, Mr. Morrison, you don't want to be coming in here a fourth time, or like things like that. And
Yeah.
creepy, like Nixon-esque anti-smoker dude. Like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it feels a little more brisk to me than Creep Show, but maybe that's just my
Yeah.
memory,
The
my
pacing.
nostalgia.
The pacing's a little better for sure. I mean, we both liked Cat's Eye more than Creep Show
Yeah.
in our ratings. So yeah, I mean, there's no conflict on that.
Well, and I like cats. So I think it is. It's like a lot of. There's just stuff in it that I gravitate towards more, and it's probably
Mhm.
as simple as that. But yeah, that's is that Drew Barrymore's like it's got to be one of her early ones.
One of her first, it's got to be.
It was
So
after Firestarter, right?
uh, Cat's Eye was 85.
Yeah.
Um,
Firestarter's 84. So
oh,
pretty
so
close to
yeah,
each other.
right after each other.
Yeah, so that was your 8, did you say?
Cat's Eye, yeah, 8.
What's your 7?
7 is Cujo, which we already talked about.
Okay.
You had it much lower.
This might be the first one that maybe shocks you. I don't know. My 7 below Cat's Eye at 6 is Carrie.
We're actually pretty close.
All right. There you go. It's a great movie. Respect the hell out of it
Classic.
for when it
Wow.
came out, what it is, what it represents. This is where I don't know how much we really need to elaborate.
Yeah.
It's a classic. It's great. It's just I like the movies above it more.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yep.
So it's like I don't know. It's if somebody's like, "You want to watch Carrie tonight?" I'd be like, "Yeah." More often than not, it's just. But if they recommend any movie above it, I'm like, "Oh, let's do that one."
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Where's your Carrie at?
Carrie for me is number 5.
Okay. Cool.
So 2 higher than yours.
Is there anything worth mentioning about Carrie that probably? I mean, that seems like that has been discussed ad nauseum in other podcasts or
Oh, of course.
film history
But
stuff.
I mean,
So
It's a great movie. It of all of the Carrie adaptations, it's probably the best. I haven't seen them all, but the ones I have, I was not impressed with in comparison.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess yeah, we could discuss that. Like the acting's really great in it. The style of
yeah,
it, it has these little weird moments that they're sort of played for humor, but it is like this old school '70s style. Like we have this little weird scene of them dancing, or I can't even remember exactly what that scene is, but I can remember its
yeah,
impact. They're on the field or something, and it's just a weird little '70s moment. And
yeah.
what's that fade thing? They have that shot constantly, where it's like split screen, split fade, or
Oh, yeah. The split focus
split focus. Right,
they
right.
did a ton of in that. Yeah,
So yeah, like that and the other little stylized camera tricks. I really appreciate that. And so it's worth mentioning that that is part of the charm of Carrie for me is its 70s-ness.
yeah,
And that's the first one when we got to it I was like, which was very early, but I was like, oh, the remake of this, I'm not excited for that.
yeah.
Like, there's a few remakes coming up on this list that I suppose when we get into it, we'll be like, this is why the old one's so much better.
Yep.
I don't
We'll have
know.
plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I have no idea if there's any Stephen King remake that's better than the first thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but we'll figure that out down the line.
Yep.
Uh, John Travolta, early John Travolta being a creep. That's worth pointing out.
Yep. Being an abusive asshole.
And I think it's regarded as being one of the films that sort of popularized the ending shot of the villain like reaching out of the ground or something and like grabbing
Yeah.
someone and then the credits roll. Like at the time I remember people talking about it being like just that it was one of the scariest things they'd ever seen because they just hadn't seen that in movies yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so then a bunch of other movies copied it, like Friday the 13th, and but I think that you can go to Carrie, and that's like one of the first, like, holy shit, what? Like she's still alive? Like anyway, yeah. So Carrie's 7 for me. 6 is Cat's Eye. Have you said your 6 yet?
My 6 is the Dead Zone.
Oh, Dead Zone is 4 for me. So we can go ahead and
Pretty
get into
close.
that.
Pretty close. The just I like supernatural Stephen King. I mean, you can argue that everything he does is supernatural, but
Sure.
like the I don't know. It was just a great story. I thought it was well paced. It held my attention extremely well. It uh yeah, I don't know what to say about the Dead Zone. I just really liked it.
I think it might be one of it might be the most intriguing story on this list to me.
Yeah.
Just the story.
The story is very solid. Yeah.
There's stuff above it where I love the story, but the story itself is maybe a little straightforward. It's kind of what the film does with the story to make it this amazing thing that it is. But the Dead Zone itself, I don't think is particularly spectacular direction. I mean, it's a nice touch. It's Cronenberg. It's good, but it is just a lot of it is in the concept for me, and I love the idea that he can like see what these people have done. It's like kind of that unbreakable thing, but they did it first.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it resonates even more post Trump. Like he's just like shakes this psychotic person who's like, "No, I'm the best. I'm number one. I saw the vision. I'm supposed to press the red button." And you're just like, oh, so creepy. And it's like, yeah, what would you do if you could take care of the guy and you knew he was gonna like, yeah, create nuclear holocaust?
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah.
And with shows that are, have like a similar concept, like, oh, psychic, whatever.
Yeah.
Usually they play it as uh it's a gift and they have fun with it for a while and then it, becomes a curse. The entire movie of this one is it's always a curse. He always doesn't want it. He hates it. It's ruined his life,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, and it's like slowly draining him each
Yeah.
time. It's just like really bad for him.
Yeah.
And
If they put
yeah.
in if they put in something stupid like, oh, he can win the lottery now or something, like, I would have been immediately turned off.
No, that's very true. It would have almost been like Spider-Man. He like running around like,
Yeah.
isn't it cool I could do this? And
Yeah.
you're like, nah, we don't need any of that. This is awful. This is like a burden. And that too is worth mentioning is that the twist of the president guy being like this crazy zealot who's going to be responsible for the death of millions, like that doesn't even get touched on until like halfway through the movie.
Oh, at least halfway. It's almost just like the final act
Yeah,
of
yeah. And it's just like there's all these other interesting stories, like
the murder mystery,
yeah,
helping the cop with that. That was very
the cop's
cool.
like, hey man, you should use your gift for this, and it's like it's like terrible. it's like
Yep.
it's like what an awful revelation, and so it's like, yeah, it is good that he did that, but goddamn, and the stuff with his ex is sad, and
Hmm.
but I don't know, it does take its time. It has these nice little like thoughtful moments with the doctor who helped him when he was in his coma, and his
Hmm.
father, and yeah, it set up everything nicely. Like when we were watching it, and they're like, man, they decorated that tree like shit. And we were just all talking, and then it's like 10 minutes later, he's like, see, that's your mother's not here. That's why we couldn't do the tree right. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
hey. The camera drew us right into that thing, and you notice it, and then there's payoff.
Yep.
And,
It-
I mean, Christopher fucking Walken. I mean,
yeah. It
wonderful.
could be it could be my favorite role of his. It could easily be the best. I'd have to think about it for a while, but I mean, it could
Damn.
be my favorite of his. I think he did great.
Yeah,
Martin Sheen also did really good too at being a creepy,
yeah, he did a really
you
good
know,
job.
senator.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a really good job at playing DeSantis.
Hmm.
Um, man, that kind of got me off thinking that. I was like, Christopher Walken, best role, damn. I mean, I love him in Deer Hunter, but yeah, I probably like him more in this, The Dead Zone. I don't
Yeah,
know. I'll have to think about that one. So that's Dead Zone was number 4 for me, and that was your
that's number
6.
6.
What's your
Yeah, number
5?
6. 5 is Carrie.
Okay. Yeah.
That that may be a little biased just based on what it's done for film and where it was at the time and everything. The historical context may have bumped it a little more than it should, purely based on if I was ranking them on how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean we went through Carrie, but it's
Yeah.
it's up there for me.
So my number 5 is Christine.
Okay, yeah, we're right by each other on that.
Where's Christine for you?
4.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Christine is one. I think it's ranked so high because I really do like the style of it. It's John Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
Some just like really great effects in it, and I love the main character's turn from being a dweeb into this like evil piece of shit.
Yeah.
I think that actor did a really good job with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what's worth pointing out is this is the one where if you're reading the back of the case or whatever, and you're like, evil car becomes possessed and kills people that are the enemies of this nerd boy. You're like that sounds dumb.
It sounds, yeah. If you were to pitch that to me,
Yeah.
it's not something I'd be interested in, but it's a great movie.
Yeah, like the way it gets jealous and the songs it chooses to like
Yeah.
show that it's jealous and they're like, I didn't get you, like yeah. And I don't know, just like a lot of really great '80s stuff. But I think that is what it is I'm so impressed by the premise they took and what they did with it that it gets ranked a lot higher for me than some of these other ones. Like I think that they did everything they could with that premise to make it as cool as possible.
Yep.
Whereas if you read the premise for Firestarter or Thinner, Silver Bullet, like all of them, you're like, I could see a better version of that in my head a little
Yep.
bit. Whereas Christine, I'm like, holy shit. Like it just consistently surprised me first time I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't much that I would change about that movie. There's nothing that I really wish was better, or like I don't have any significant complaints about anything in that movie. Acting, cinematography, story, script. I mean, it was all pretty solid.
Yep. So yeah, do we what's your four? You already say that
Four
one?
is Christine. Yep.
Christine,
Four
right.
is Christine.
What's your three?
Stand by Me.
Me too. Uh why is it number three, Dan?
Well,
Because
I
all
don't
these
know.
top
It's
three, I have a hard time defining why they are the top three.
yeah, and I would have a hard time defining why they're in the order they are in the top three. But I mean, purely based on enjoyment of the movie, and I mean, we're not alone. It's well regarded as
Yeah.
a fantastic movie, but I couldn't really articulate exactly why it's so good. The acting is pretty good, especially since it's kids. It's shockingly good for kids.
Yeah.
Um, the the strong narrator. I always love stories with strong narrators. Just I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older. The whole reflecting on childhood thing is something that is it resonates.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think that our top three are the same. Number one's The Shining, right?
Oh, of course.
Number two's Pet Cemetery.
Yep.
And three is Stand By Me. I think
Yep.
I guess we might as well talk about them almost like in a bundle.
Yep.
Because they each one the way it tackles its emotional themes are like great, and they're movies that you think about when you're not watching them, like at random times. Like Pet Cemetery, how it tackles death and grief, and
Hmm.
would you or wouldn't you try to bring somebody back, and it sets such a yeah, it's like it sets that creepy Halloween cemetery vibe with
Yeah.
that interesting, almost sci-fi esque Stephen Kingness, and but with Stand by Me, it's like a reflection on youth. Like it's very similar to parts of the childhood parts of it,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
just like it is so reflective on what it was like to be a kid and what was scary and what made you mad, but also like you felt like you were excited, like you were working towards something, and like it sounds silly when you reflect on it, but when you do think about it, you're like, yeah, we took building that dam so seriously, or going to find this body, and the older brother is like terrifying, and the bully in
Yeah.
town, and then yeah, it is like an epic quest. It's like Lord of the Rings almost, just but that's how shit feels like when you're that age.
Yeah.
Especially going on adventures like that. Like this fucking Lord of the Rings. We're going to throw the ring into Mount Doom, and the creatures they come across, like the um junkyard guy is almost like running into Shelob. Like,
Yeah. They got like boss fights along the way.
yeah, but then they also have it's just the way it is reflective. Like the guy at the uh, grocery store, just is like, "Hey, your brother, he's amazing. God blessed his arm. It's a goddamn shame. What do you do?" And he's like,
Hmm.
"I don't know what I do." Like, and then you just thinking about, man, to be that age and be a writer in the '50s, like, and just, yeah, your brother was good at football. Like, what do you do? You're a lady boy. Like, you're just, man, '50s sucked.
Yeah.
And then it makes you think about the '50s, and so that's another thing too. I think that's similar is The Shining, Pet Cemetery, Stand by Me. They have that where it's like this is how we used to do things back in the day. There's the flashback in Pet Cemetery.
Hmm.
So it's almost like how history haunts us through all three in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, man. It's I think another thing I'd point out is between the three, Pet Cemetery is maybe the most confusing about why it's at number two.
Yeah.
The Shining, Stanley Kubrick, it's incredible. I mean, I don't think there is much we can say on The Shining that hasn't already been said.
Yeah.
It's just that good, and it's made by one of the masters, and you could endlessly pick it apart like that movie Room 237. People have
Yeah.
almost made careers off of breaking that movie down. And Stand By Me, it's one of Rob Reiner's best films. It's like it is epic, but it's also like almost what's the baseball movie? Sandlot.
Um,
It's
yeah.
almost like the Sandlot too. Like it's very heartwarming. I think, yeah, father or uncle or older brother could watch that movie with their younger brother or their son, and it'd be like, "Yep, I get this."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's easy to see why that one is so beloved, and it is just well crafted by Rob Reiner. But Pet Cemetery, I don't know the director off the top of my head.
Mary Lambert.
Right.
You
Every time
got
I
it
hear
up
the
there.
name, I'm like, oh, yep, okay, yeah, but I don't know anything else she's done. Um, the
Um,
film
some
itself kind of
yeah.
comes off like sort of made for TV at times. But
Yeah.
then there's other times where it's just like that's such a smart choice, like we talked about with the gym kid who gets run over.
Hmm.
Like the way they use him and the way his presence is felt throughout the movie. Sometimes they're better than others as far as effect shots go, but like just the way they choose to frame him and the way that he comes into a shot or a scene, you're like, especially with the cat too, like Church and
Yeah.
Gage, like such smart filmmaking.
It's really easy to buy into the fiction the
Yeah,
whole time. Like you're never like, oh, that's dumb. It's easy to just, just roll with it. And it all three of these movies, I think the main thing I would say about it, all of them, is they all hit their tone perfectly.
yeah,
Like what the movie is supposed to be is what it is. Like there's nothing that feels completely out of place or anything like that. It's just solid.
yeah. I would say that Pet Cemetery out of the three evokes the most emotion from me.
Yeah.
Like it more there's so many scenes in it where I'm like either laughing or like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
or just like I love it. There's so much in it. Stand by Me, I'm just like it's thoughtful and be like, yeah, reflective, and then The Shining, you're like just like, oh, is this about American genocide or what is this? Like
Yeah.
and they're just so good. Yeah, I mean I think I don't know. Acting in The Shining is probably just top notch.
Yeah.
It's just one like that sticks with you. And I mean, it has that fat buddy pig man blowing the dude, which
It's always great.
it might be it might be the most memorable scene in any Stephen King movie. I'm gonna test that.
Yep.
through as we keep watching these. But out of all these movies, Fat Bunny Pigman blowing the dude, uh, Gage in the top hat, like mommy. Uh, yeah, those are the most memorable scenes to me.
Yeah.
Just doing a quick
Yeah.
scan. I'll say the one that had a lot of hype from a lot of people that I've seen, like in those old VH1 throwback shows they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about that scene in Salem's Lot with the dead brother floating out the window, just
Yeah,
scratching
the
the
kid at the
window.
window. Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty iconic. But
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about Salem's Lot, the eyes that they did for the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
that was amazing effects.
No, yeah. And they're really
That's awesome.
effective. Like, it's creepy. Every time they came on,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, jeez. But I think it's also worth pointing out Pet Cemetery, the two best actors in the entire thing are Gage, the little boy, and the cat.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's a great acting in that movie, but just how the fuck did they get the kid to do that or the cat to do that? Like, man, it's crazy because I love Pet Cemetery so much that it's like if The Shining wasn't The Shining, it just would be number one.
Yeah.
But The Shining's the motherfucking Shining. And
It's hard to beat.
and I will say this: when was the first time you saw The Shining?
Oh, I don't know. I was probably mid-teens, 14, 15.
All right. This will be a nice way to wrap this up. The first time I saw it, I think I was about somewhere similar, like 12, 13, 14,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on HBO. And I had my buddy Steve over, and we're just like, we would always watch movies together, so scanning through, and then we're like, oh, The Shining, I've heard about this, like, and you'd seen it referenced, like in Simpsons
Mm-hmm.
and other
Yeah.
stuff. And so we didn't have any context for it, really. They're just like, oh, is this that one with, like, blood coming out of the elevator or something? Which, speaking of Simpsons, real quick, that's one of my favorite things. Is like, oh, usually the blood gets off at the fifth floor. It's like, whatever. Nah, but so the house I had out in Smithfield, we had our little. You go down like 4 steps, and there's this little TV den area.
Mm-hmm.
But then 4 steps up, there's the kitchen and kind of dining room area.
Yeah.
So my parents are up in the dining room area, just like playing canasta or something. And me and Steve just don't think anything of it. We're like, it's The Shining. It's the classic, supposedly. Let's just put it on. And we put it on for like a couple minutes, and then my mom was like, turn this off right now! I was like, oh shit! And just like, turn it off, and like, what? And like, she sat us down and told us, that is the devil, and like, yeah, some Mormony stuff, but it was just like, holy shit. And so, of course, me and Steve are like looking at each other like we are watching that movie as soon as we can.
Yep.
Like, this talk is doing nothing. It's doing nothing except making us more hyped for it. So, I think we did wait a little bit to watch it. But when I watched it, I was like, that's it? I think the getting yelled at, I was like expecting something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just wasn't. It was like it is a very kind of like slow burn meditative film with some weird shit.
Yep.
But it's like the way it creeps into your brain and you think about it over time. Like little lines that mean almost like nothing. But it's just
Yeah.
like I'll be in the grocery store in the freezer section and I'll be like, you want some ice cream, Doc? You're just like, ugh, ugh. It's just like, it sticks with me like more than any of these. Just little lines, little moments, and that's kind of why when I read a modern person's review of it, if they've never seen it, they're like, I don't get it. What's the hype all about? This is stupid. I'm like, yeah, maybe that is just your taste, and I hope not. But I'll talk to you in about 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
See if you still feel that way about it. And
I mean,
yeah,
I've seen it probably 100 times at least,
yeah,
and it still like gets me to sit down and pay attention, and it gives me chills, and I'm just like glued to it.
yeah,
And there aren't many movies that I can see that many times and still be like enthralled in the magic of them.
yeah. I love the movie so much. I want to actually watch that silly conspiracy theory movie about it again.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
because I like seeing other people's interpretations of that movie.
Yep.
That's how much I love that fucking movie. It's like, yeah, if somebody was like, here's the conspiracies of Wayne's World, like, I'm like, I love Wayne's World, but no, I'm not watching that shit.
Yep.
Like I don't even think I could do other Kubrick movies. It's just like, these are all these conspiracies about 2001. I'm like, I don't care. Something about The Shining, dude.
Yep.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. This is going to be a hefty comeback episode. This will be the first episode up in a while, so I appreciate you coming on, and we'll be
Oh,
having you
absolutely.
back on. I don't know when we're going to get to the next section of King, but the way I'm kind of seeing it is try to get you on each week if we can fit it schedule wise, and just go over whatever movies we watched that week.
Sounds good.
Um, we're also
Always love talking about movies.
yeah, man. That's why I'm like, yep. I think that's structurally how I'm going to be doing this thing going forward. Is a little bit of news and sports pitter patter right up top, something real quick, and then get into music with Kellen when he can, and get into movies with you when he can.
Sounds good.
And as time goes on, we got a bunch of different lists in the works. Like we've been going through Verhoeven movies, and might do like Tim Burton. Feel free to write the Jacob Wayne Show at gmail.com if you're like, you guys should watch all of this director, or do a top 10 of this actor or actress. Anything like that. We'd be happy to do it, I imagine. So, and I mean, like, yeah, top 10 cinematographers or movies cinematography. Like, I love making lists like that. So, throw anything our way that you like. But for now, that is the Jacob Wayne Show. Ta ta! Thank you for listening to the Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakkoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome.